So I just wanted to come on and do a quick video just to answer Ken's question that he posted in the group. So Ken talked about overtraining, how he wanted to overcome overtraining syndrome. So he said any advice on recovering from overtraining. He said he read a few articles on the subject, but is a bit freaked out of the recovery time that he's looking at and that suggestion. He doesn't want to spend too much time off the bike, essentially. He's been doing a lot of vigorous exercise. It's a really important part of his life, obviously, and it improves his mental well-being, as it does all of us as well, getting out in nature. It's fantastic. He's experienced a bit of sleep disruption recently and for several months, and he's trying to address that. He's taken, at the moment, 4 days off from exercising, not seeing a big improvement in his sleep as yet, and he's hoping to see more improvements going forward. Getting a little bit disheartened by seeing maybe his fitness dropped on Strava, Training Peaks, and is really keen to get back riding. He, for context, 66-year-old male living in California, does a lot of ultra endurance cycling. So he's doing a lot of miles a week, around roughly 250, 300 miles a week, which is very impressive, with about 10 to 20k elevation on the indoor trainer, quite a bit on Swift, as well as going outside and doing a HIIT session. So that just gives you a context of what Ken was talking about, just to give you an idea of his situation, because everybody's situation when it comes to overtraining is going to be very different. How someone recovers will be largely dependent on a number of factors: someone's age, their current state of fitness, and how much their levels of exercise are doing in terms of the intensity. It's been over a number of weeks and months, even years, because there's a compound effect of increased fatigue that's going to build up if you're not giving your body adequate rest during those phases of training. So to give a bit of context with recovery, how I work with my athletes is, and how I train myself, especially now at 40, and really focusing on longevity in terms of making sure that I look after my body, not just to cycle really well, but also just to be comfortable, be healthy, sleep well, and just be a healthy individual off the bike, so I can really maximize my life and enjoy my life as much as I can when I'm not riding. So the key thing for me is managing my fatigue levels on a consistent weekly basis. I don't really tend to prescribe my clients a really heavy block of training with a really easy block of training. So what I mean by that, it might be maybe 2 or 3 months of really hard training leading up to an event, maybe a few weeks off before the event and then the event itself. I'm really focused on building a consistent amount of training, so you're constantly always improving on an upward trajectory, compound effect, so to speak, taking a few days off each week, each month. So it allows you to train consistently, get the most out of your training, and seeing that constant progress in your fitness. It might be dips where you will take a little bit more time off, maybe over holidays, and so, weekends in terms of Christmas, and if you're going on a holiday, those kind of things, special occasions. But ultimately, they're going to be small pockets of time that aren't going to really make much of a difference when it comes to your overall progression in your fitness, because your consistency throughout the year is going to be very, very stable, as opposed to being really, really aggressive and having some time off. The way I look at it is like investing in stocks and shares. If you're constantly investing, say, in your pension on a monthly basis, that'll compound over time and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Where if you try to compound by investing a lot of money in one go, you might be able to do that in one instance, but to try and do that consistently might be a strain on your finances, because you got your mortgage, you've got your other bills to pay. So it's important to focus on how can you invest a lot of your time and energy, so to speak, in terms of your training, to get that compound effect consistently over time. That's going to keep you fit and healthy, not just on the bike, but off the bike, without it being too much of a strain on your body and also your time. And the way I would look at overtraining and symptoms of overtraining to help overcome that, in terms of Ken's case and also everyone else's case when it comes to overtraining, my only experience with overtraining was the fact that I was training a lot, doing a lot of riding. I remember I had a heavy week away in Mallorca at one time, came back feeling really strong, went out again at the weekend, probably rode 6 or 7 days in a row, and then I was wiped out the next day. And then also when I went training the next day after that, I couldn't get my heart rate up. So I was out with the guys I cycle with regularly weekends, and I was trying to jump back on the wheel after being dropped, maybe on a certain aspect of the climb, and I just couldn't get my heart rate up. I was really going as aggressive as I can, but my heart rate wasn't raising. I couldn't get the power out. I couldn't get the level of speed and intensity that I would normally associate with that kind of effort. And that for me was a sign that I'm overtraining, I'm overtrained, I need complete rest and recovery. Because if I continued to do any form of training, I was not going to recover efficiently enough to be able to continue my training. And that's one of the signs you want to look out for when it comes to overtraining is you're not reaching those heart rate levels that you'd normally reach during interval efforts and during zone 2 efforts. If your heart rate is higher during a zone 2 than it would be normally, that's a sign. If you're doing some hard interval training and you can't get your heart rate up to the levels that you would like to associated with the power that you're aiming for, again, that's another sign. Another sign of overtraining as well would be just not enjoying your training as much. I've had this many times when I've been training for marathons that I've just got bored of running. I've not really enjoyed it. I've not been excited about getting out on the bike or going for a run. And as soon as that happens, I know I've probably done too much. It's getting taxing on my body. So I need a break. And then also, your sleep is really important. Focus on your sleep quality. If you're struggling to sleep, I've had that before where I've been so physically exhausted and tired that all I want to do is sleep, but because I'm so tired, I can't sleep. So again, that's another symptom of overtraining as well. So you want to make sure you're constantly focusing on those things to support your well-being going forward. Another factor as well, or how I solved that factor essentially, was making sure that I just took a week off. So anytime I have any overtraining symptoms, like I've just mentioned, I will have a complete week off the bike. And that means no training whatsoever. So I won't do any other forms of activity. I won't go for a swim, I won't go for a run. I won't do any weight training in the gym. The only form of activity I'll do is going for a light walk. And the key things that I'll focus on is making sure I'm getting loads of sleep. So maybe going to bed earlier, sleeping in a bit later, trying to get at least 9-10 hours of sleep a night. Try and be consistent with your sleep in general. You want to be getting 7 to 9 hours a night most days or every day if you can, because that's a really big and key element in terms of supporting your recovery from your training as well. So if you're not sleeping well and you're sacrificing that also could lead to overtraining down the line because you're not giving your body adequate chance to recover. Also, I'm going to make sure I'm drinking plenty of water, staying really hydrated, eating well, plenty of fruits and vegetables, and maybe just doing some light yoga, some stretching, maybe treat myself to a sports massage, just really in a recovery phase and just really emphasizing the recovery as much as possible. And I'll take a full week off and then get back on the training and start light again. So I'm not going to start where I finished. So if the intensity was quite high leading up to that week, I'm not going to jump in and start doing really hard interval training after a week of rest. I'm going to go in and do a recovery session, maybe a week of zone 2, maybe a light ride at the weekend, less miles that I would normally do. Just get a feel for how my body's feeling after that week off. Because if still feeling pretty tired and exhausted, or if I'm on a turbo trainer again, then maybe I need more time off. So you really want to try and listen to your body and focus on all these aspects that I've just discussed when you go back to your training after your rest period as well. And it could be 2 or 3 weeks more that you might need off your bike. And in Ken's case, if you're doing a lot of training, you're doing a lot of miles a week, it's a lot. For most people, I average maybe 150 miles a week and trying to fit it in around work and other commitments. It might not be that feasible, but it will depend on how many miles, the intensity that you're training at per week. So if you're doing a lot of miles like Ken is doing and you're suffering from overtraining syndrome, then you might need more than a week. You might need a month off the bike. But in Ken's case, I would say, Ken, take it week by week, monitor your progress. Is your sleep improving going forward? Really focus on your recovery, plenty of hydration, nutrition, some stretching, trying some massages. Obviously, if your mental well-being, I would focus on maybe exploring some meditation, some cold therapy to help aid your muscles in recovery a bit faster as well. And also that helps to minimize and increase your resilience to stress. So, and that's what we're really about when it comes to the cycling community, is giving you the tools to support your mental well-being and not just rely on cycling as a form of mental well-being. Because while cycling is fantastic, there's going to be periods like this that we might not be able to get on the bike as much. We need other strategies and tools that we can implement to manage our stress levels in the best way possible. And cold showers, I actually prescribed that to one of my clients in the past. I think I connected with him recently and he said, I'm still doing cold showers. I really love them. And he's really helped him to manage his stress levels. He actually manages a cycling team and he found that the cold showers on a daily basis really helped him to just control his emotions a lot more on a day-to-day basis. So that's a really good win for him. And I think it's something like that you want to focus on. meditation, writing down things in the diary, how you're feeling, talking to loved ones, family, friends, other people that you can confide in. Really important to talk about how you're feeling. So I would say on all those fronts, take it week by week, focus on your recovery, your sleep, your hydration, your nutrition, some recovery strategies like meditation, cold therapy, yoga, maybe treat yourself to a massage. Enjoy this time off a bit more as well, and try and focus on it as a positive, because you're going to come back stronger. And I think when you look at your fitness level is always going to go down and up. They're never going to be continually going up. So when we do have periods off the bike during holidays, Christmas, those kind of things, we can't always progress consistently on a consistent basis. We're going to have periods where our levels of fitness will drop, and then we build them back up. We can't train as aggressively as we can maybe in the summer, in the winter. And I think it's important to do that and address that, because you want to look after your well-being off the bike as much as you want to perform well on the bike. And having that period where the intensity is a little bit less, you're still keeping active, still getting on the bike, doing your Swift, the intensity is a little bit less. That's going to also help you overcome strategies and struggles like overtraining, and then help you get stronger the next year. And I think look at it as a wave where you're going to get stronger over time, but there's going to be dips and waves. It's never going to be linear and consistent. It's going to be up and down. So if you look at it like that, that hopefully can help you overcome just some frustrations. You feel like you're not progressing, but actually sometimes you need to take a couple steps back to move forward. You can't always constantly be pushing forward. So take that on board. Hopefully that helps you. If you've got any more questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.